Welcome to this deep dive. We are going to be exploring the world of sign language interpretation in Ghana.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. We've got some pretty fascinating material to work with here. A code of professional standards document, and some background info on the National Association of Sign Language Interpreters, Ghana, NASLIG.
Yeah.
So have you ever, thought about the responsibility of bridging communication gaps for an entire community?
Yeah.
The trust and impact involved?
That's a huge responsibility.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to be looking at today.
That's fascinating. It's a really interesting field.
Yeah.
It's way more nuanced than just knowing sign language.
Right.
It makes you think about all the complexities of communication and the ethics involved.
Absolutely. And speaking of ethics, the Code of Professional Standards puts a huge emphasis on confidentiality right from the start. It really makes you realize the kind of sensitive information that interpreters are entrusted with.
Yeah, it's absolutely paramount.
Right.
You know, if you think about it from the listener's perspective,
Right.
if you were sharing something deeply personal or confidential, wouldn't you want to know that it wouldn't go beyond that interaction?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But there are exceptions, right? Like if there's some legal requirement to disclose something.
Right.
Or for professional development reasons.
Yeah, there are those exceptions.
Right.
But even then, the code really stresses how important responsible disclosure is.
Yeah.
Making sure that everything stays confidential.
Within the appropriate channels.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not even just about keeping quiet. It's understanding the weight of that responsibility and navigating those situations ethically.
Exactly.
It makes you realize the trust involved in this profession.
Totally. And that leads us to the next section of the code. Professionalism in action.
Okay.
It's more than just showing up on time and dressing properly.
Right.
Although those are important too.
Well,
it's about understanding the boundaries and keeping that professional distance.
right. The code specifically mentions that the client is not your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that so important?
Well, keeping that professional distance is essential for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
First, it ensures impartiality and objectivity.
Right.
You don't want personal relationships influencing your interpretation,
Right.
potentially compromising the accuracy of the communication.
That makes sense. It's just like any profession where objectivity is key. Journalism, the legal system.
Exactly.
You need to be able to separate your personal feelings
Precisely.
from the task at hand.
Yeah. And the code goes on to talk about other aspects of professionalism.
Yeah.
Like avoiding conflicts of interest,
Right.
negotiating fees up front,
Mm-hmm.
and only accepting assignments that you're qualified for.
So transparency,
Yeah.
fairness, knowing your limits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine you're working on a project and you need a specialist.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't want somebody who's in over their head handling something crucial, right? It's the same for interpreting.
Right. It's about ensuring quality and accountability,
Mhm.
which builds trust.
Absolutely. And talking about quality, the code talks about how important teamwork is,
Oh,
especially for longer assignments. Constantly can really impact an interpreter's accuracy.
right.
So having multiple interpreters make sure that the quality is consistent.
Wow. It's amazing how much thought goes into this.
It really is.
Yeah.
It shows how dedicated these professionals are to ensuring effective communication.
Right.
Now, let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about what the code calls impartiality. Arguably, the heart of sign language interpreting.
Okay, so the code says interpreters are supposed to convey not just the words, but the spirit of the speaker.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like?
Well, it means you have to go beyond the literal translation.
Okay.
And capture the nuances, the tone, the intent behind the words.
Right.
Imagine trying to convey humor or sarcasm in
Right.
sign language. It takes a deep understanding, not just of the language, but the culture and the relationship between the speakers.
So almost like being a cultural ambassador in a way.
That's a great way to put it. It takes skill and sensitivity
Yeah.
to pick up on all those nonverbal cues, facial expressions, body language, and then translate them into a different mode of communication.
And so obviously personal opinions or biases can't be a part of this.
Of course not.
Right, because that could totally change the message.
Yeah, especially in legal proceedings or medical situations.
Yeah.
It could have huge consequences if an interpreter let their own views color the interpretation.
Yeah.
The code is really clear that if an interpreter can't be impartial, they got to step back.
Wow.
Yeah,
That shows real integrity.
it really does.
It's not just a job, it's a commitment to ethical communication.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that commitment extends to how they interact with colleagues, too.
Okay.
The code has a whole section about respect for colleagues. It emphasizes solidarity and upholding